Hi class. As it turns out, I'm still not very good at making these videos. So it's almost 4 o'clock and I'm going to try to get this posted as close to 4 as I can. So this has got to be it, imperfections and all. So tonight it's all about dependent clauses. That is one half of a complex sentence. And we can't really talk about dependent clauses without talking about their subordinate conjunctions. So, what are subordinate conjunctions? Well, they are the words or the word at the beginning of dependent clauses. They actually make the clause dependent rather than independent. So, if we had an independent clause or a complete sentence and we put one of these subordinate conjunctions at the front of it, that clause would no longer be independent. It would seem like it was missing information and it would be reliant on more than what's there for it to be a complete sentence. So here is the list of subordinate conjunctions. You most definitely do not need to memorize this list, but I think as you write and as you speak and as you read, you're going to start recognizing a lot of these words in complex sentences. And pretty soon, you're going to be able to probably name quite a few of these conjunctions without intentionally memorizing them. So pretty soon, as you're writing, you might notice that you use the word before, or you use the word since, or because. And when you do that, you're writing a complex sentence. So we need to know, where do these subordinate conjunctions go in the sentence? Do they go at the beginning or do they go at the end? And really, this is a little bit of chicken or egg. Does the independent clause have to come first or can it come second? And when we were doing the activity in class where you and your partner read your complex sentence out loud, many of you reversed it without even knowing. You read the dependent clause first rather than the independent, and it sounded fine. So really, either one can go first. It really depends on what you're saying and what sounds best. However, when the dependent clause is first, you have to use a comma. So some of you are a little shy when using commas, or some of you like to put commas everywhere. With complex sentences, there are rules that you have to follow. So you need to know that if dependent is first, a comma must be used. If the independent clause is first, there is no comma. So we're going to kind of practice that in the next couple of slides. So we're going to look at examples where the dependent clause is first. And these are the examples that you used in class the other day. So after she has woken up from hibernation, that is a dependent clause. The word after is highlighted. That is a subordinate conjunction. And it is first, so it is capitalized. There is a comma at the end. The only thing missing from this to make it a complex sentence is the independent clause that follows it. So I believe it was, after she has woken up from hibernation, Sandy becomes a raging squirrel. Okay, I think it was something like that. So you need to notice that subordinate conjunction first, comma after. The next example, although he continues to talk to them. Although is a subordinate conjunction. You need a comma at the end of the dependent clause. What's missing at the end is the independent. Once you have them both, you have a complex sentence. You can see Squidward is looking rather grouchy. As Mr. Krabs loves money, as is a subordinate conjunction. The comma is at the end of the dependent clause. It's just missing the rest. You can tell we're sticking to the SpongeBob theme. I think today will probably be the last day. Some of you may be sad. Now, let's look at it reversed. What if you think the dependent clause sounds best at the end of the sentence? So you're going to see that your subordinate conjunction is still highlighted, but that's going to be in the middle somewhere. Before he gets fed, there was an independent clause before that. And then the period would go at the end. So this finishes off the complex sentence. I think it was Gary meows before he gets fed. Okay, another example of the dependent clause coming last. If SpongeBob is feeling sad, if is the subordinate conjunction, there's a period at the end because the independent clause has already been said. That has come first. And finally, since the chum bucket is not as good as the Krusty Krab. Since is a subordinate conjunction, and the period is at the end. I believe the independent clause that went before that was Plankton tries to steal the Krabby Patty formula since the chum bucket is not as good as the Krusty Krab. Okay, so now I'd like you to try. If you have a piece of scrap paper around, grab that. You can pause this video and do the practice and then restart it and finish watching. So I'd like you to try writing your own dependent clause that would come at the beginning of a sentence. I have given you two subordinate conjunctions, unless and until. For instance, please don't use my example, but unless SpongeBob is her student, comma. Okay, so notice I said comma at the end. You don't want to forget that. And then I'd like you to try two examples where the dependent clause would come at the end of the sentence. So please use the subordinate conjunctions when and which. For instance, an example of this, you could say, which was disgusting, period. So you know that that's the end of the complex sentence. And most definitely, don't forget your punctuation, commas when the dependent clause is first, and periods when the dependent clause is last. No need to write the whole sentence, just the dependent clauses. So, thank you for watching. Imperfections and all. This will get better as we go. And for those of you that watched and did the practice, the secret word tonight is Mrs. Puff. Make sure you remember that for tomorrow so I know that you watched this video. Have a great night.